Assalamualaikum Hasan Saab. Hello, good morning, Brenda. How are you? I can't, you're on mute.
Good morning, Hamad. How are you?
Morning. And good morning, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Hey, fancy Sam.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good.
Can you
Nice to see
hear me properly?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, perfect.
Because
I'll be
a small, group of friends at this point in time, I would like to introduce you to Ehsan Qureshi. Ehsan is also from Karachi, and he worked in Canada years ago, and he just came back, I think, a couple of years ago. He's in the HR profession too. So he worked, I think, with Deloitte until very recently in Canada. So I asked him to join in. Maybe he's interested in sharing his thoughts in the next webinar that we're going to do next month. So that was the idea of requesting him to come and join.
Welcome.
So Hasan Saab, if you are available, just introduce yourself. If you can turn on your camera, that would be fantastic.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
good
Can you
morning.
see me and hear me, Hamad Saab?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, good to see you.
Perfect. So, yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, as Hamad Saab was saying, my name is Hassan Qureshi. I immigrated twice, so I had the privilege. So initially, I moved in 2001. Then, stayed here, worked with a couple of multinational organizations, then left for Middle East, came back in 2020.
Yeah. And now he has started his own coaching and consulting business in HR. So claps to him. That's
Welcome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I know it's like and Hamad has been an amazing influence for sure.
I mean,
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I just keep talking. That's all I do. Hey Dinesh ji, how are you? Good morning.
So
Morning, everybody. How are you?
Yeah.
Very well.
Because,
Thank you.
because you keep talking, that's the reason we keep telling you, Guruji,
Thank you.
Guruji.
Thank you very
You
much.
know, Sam, you know the meaning of Guruji is. Guruji is teacher.
Right.
Okay. Guruji is teacher. So for us, Hamad is we call him as a business advisor, but that's the professional term of that we talk. But on a personal level, I call him Guruji. We go by your advice, whatever you tell us to do that too.
You've been very kind. I only try to contribute what I think is going to benefit whatever initiative we are part of, and it's mostly volunteering. So Dinesh ji, so I met Dinesh ji, I think about 3 years ago through LinkedIn, basically. And at that point in time, he was starting Brilliant Minds Group, the not-for-profit organization in Canada, and we have been together since. And then he started the SOS Talent Management. He said, come and join in. I said, yeah, I mean, if you say so, I am in. And the beauty, and I always say that I always tell this to people, my mentees, young seniors, whatever, say, volunteering is the best leadership trait one can have, or one can kind of share. So whatever we are doing together has no monetary benefit attached to it, particularly BMG. SOS eventually, yes, it will be turned into some kind of an interesting, monetary, or will monetize it. That's the business side of it. But a lot of it is actually, volunteering and helping people learn something. So we have only 2 more minutes to go in the session. We are expecting about 10 people live here, and more in the live session on Dinesh's LinkedIn profile, because this session is going to go live on LinkedIn on his profile. We have Liliana also joining in. Good morning, Liliana, another amazing HR professional. And she's part of SOS Talent as well. So you have 2 minutes, so you can talk if you want to. What will happen that I'll start the session. I'll literally give 30 seconds intro for both Sam and Brenda, and Shazad is coming as well. And then you will have 1 minute to introduce yourself. So no more than 1 minute. So let's be very specific in what you want to share with people, and then I'll give a little bit of perspective, and we'll start session with the questions that you have given me. I've only added one more question to it, just to give you a heads up. Is see, Canada is a lot about fast-paced work environment. There's a lot of jobs that are in fast-paced work environment, and the turnover in fast-paced work environment is very high. Good morning, John. Like Amazon and all this kind of stuff, restaurants. These are fast-paced environments, and often it's very challenging for employers to retain staff in the fast-paced environment. So just one more question to go is what 1 or 2 suggestions for those people. Yes, how they keep their teams happy. So so you can continue for 1 more minute. I'll just do the needful for live session.
Hey, John.
Hey, Sam. How you doing?
Not too bad. And you?
Doing all right, thanks. All right.
Hi, Liliana. Hi, John. Hi, Shazad.
Diana, I think this is our first time. Hi, Shazad.
Hello, everyone. A pleasure.
So Shazad is helping us on both these organizations, SOS and BMG. He's one of the best marketing professional that I have met in my life. Okay.
That's
much
too
I
much,
can-
Dinesh. That's too much.
I'll second that though.
No,
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no, he's one of the best marketing professionals that I've met. And Liliana and I have known each other for the last 12, 13 years. There's an interesting story that we'll share later because I know the session is starting soon. But Liliana is life partner of John.
Nice to meet you, Liliana.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you as well.
And I met Sam through John. I don't know whether John connected or whichever way. And Brenda and I have known each other for the last 15 years time. We were together part of the HR associations. You remember Brenda, 2008, 2009. So one consistent message that I want to give it to everybody is in Canada or wherever you are, relationship building goes a long way. Do not look at the short-term things. Okay, look at building long-term relationships, and that will eventually. Otherwise, whether it's Brenda or Liliana or Shazad or John, these individuals are contributing at least 10 to 20 hours every week for me, and I sometimes feel so. What do you call? I won't say the word ashamed, but these people are doing so much for me or for the community. And not only once, they've been doing it for the last 3 years. Calculate the number of hours that they have given it to us without getting paid. So that's relationship. You guys agree?
Yeah.
BMG would not have been here. I don't know, Sam, just for your information, at BMG, we support newcomers and international students and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay. BMG would not have been here if it was not for all these individuals. And now we could replicate BMG's success into SOS success.
Yeah.
Okay. My theory is, me and my brother was chatting the other day, and he says, Dinesh, you're now building BMG India, you're building SOS. Okay, do you think you can do that too? And I said, brother, parenting the first child is difficult. Once you parented the first child, then second, third, fourth, fifth, my parents had 7 children, so not a problem. You've got the first child is difficult.
That's a nice way to put it, Dinesh.
Yeah. You know, my Hamad, I can continue chatting or
Yeah. I'm actually adding all the streams first, so you can.
okay. So my mother keeps telling me all the time is we have one son. Okay. Most of my siblings have 2 children. And my mom keeps telling me, you guys can't manage one child. I manage 7 of you. But more importantly, my uncle passed away in 1983. Okay. 1983 or so. And my mom looked after my uncle's children also. So there are 8 of them. So she said, I looked after 15 children. You can't manage one?
Okay, so we are live now.
Perfect.
And if someone could look at Dinesh's profile and see if you're live, because I won't be able to do that from here. So good morning, everyone. This is Hamad Siddiqui. We welcome you to this webinar, live webinar at SOS Talent Management. SOS Talent is a Canadian-based talent management company. And these webinars we are doing, and basically the idea is to bring HR professionals and talk about what is happening in the HR industry from very Canadian perspective. This is our 3rd webinar in a row. So 3 months, and we'll keep going. Next 1 month. Next month we'll have another amazing topic to cover. But today's topic is about the current state of HR. And we'll also talk about a little bit the future state of HR, what's going to be the transformation that is happening in the HR industry. So anybody looked at the live? Is it happening? Do you see live?
It's not happening. Nothing on his profile.
Okay, so I'll I don't know. Dinesh, I think we'll have to then subscribe to that tool that we have, because it shows me that it's live, but it's not live.
No, it's not. It's not live. So
maybe
I told you, if you have to subscribe it, so subscribe it.
we'll probably do it next time. There's something, because it shows me here live, right? On my screen, but it is not live. Just give me
Maybe I should send a message to the people and ask them to join through Zoom.
yeah, that's it says happening now.
Maybe take some time for it to.
No, it says live. It says live to me here.
But on LinkedIn, it doesn't show anything.
Or it doesn't show. So I'll quickly, I mean, technology mess up and stuff. I'll quickly introduce our today's speaker, and I'll let them share something about themselves. It will be a very quick introduction from my side, and then probably the first question, I'll just place first question, let them talk, and I'll just try to go and fix it if it is fixed. So we have Brenda and Sam today as our 2 amazing guest speakers, very, very experienced professional in the HR industry. Brenda is from my home city as well, Karachi. She studied at IBA, and she's been in Canada for many, many years in the HR industry, and brings in tremendous experience of working with people, with human resources. Sam is from Sri Lanka originally, and I have a very kind of deep regard for Sri Lanka because I have deep memories with Sri Lanka. I went to Sri Lanka on my honeymoon in 1998. So how can I forget Sri Lanka? And remember, it was wartime and all that, and we stayed at that hotel at the beach and all that. So anyway, so Sri Lanka, and I've worked in Sri Lanka quite a few years for, there were projects that I kept going for. So Sam brings in tremendous experience. Also, she's been a headhunter, now turned into a coach, and she worked in the Gulf for many, many years, now in Canada. So what I will do is that I'll request Brenda for 1 minute introduction, whatever I missed out, then Sam 1 minute introduction, and I'll float my first question, and then I'll go and see what's happening on LinkedIn. Sam.
Okay, so
Brenda, go first.
good morning, everyone. My name is Brenda. So I had finished my MBA and I majored in marketing. And I got my first job in Caltex Oil, which is Chevron Texaco in Karachi. And the general manager put me down as an HR associate. And at that time, I was so disappointed. I thought, what do I know about HR? I want to do marketing. And he probably, now that in hindsight, I realized that he probably was, had an astute recognition of the skills maybe that I possessed. But I fell in love with the people aspect in HR, and I've never. At that time, I was. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, yes. I think so. Keep going.
Okay, so I got into HR. I worked 3 years in HR there. Then I moved to Canada. And when I came to Canada, I found, oh my God, I just couldn't get back into HR again because this was 26 years ago, right? And things were very different at that time than they are today. But, I persisted, I persevered. I went to the HRPA, did the courses, got my designation. I am a CHRL now, and it's been a journey. So I worked for many organizations, aerospace, automotive, logistics, and here I am, after so many years. I loved HR. I still love it. And that's a little about me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, so often our careers start with a bit of accident. So, and we don't really know where are we going to, where our career is going to take us in the long run. But this amazing story. Sam, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me. This is my first session with Dinesh and the team and SOS, so I appreciate having me today. Well, my career, I think also somewhat an accident, but I always knew when I started in HR about 20 something odd years ago, without giving my age away, that I wanted to be in a people-oriented environment, whether it was going to be sales or marketing. I had no idea at the time, but I had a fantastic mentor, again, like Brenda, who saw the potential in me many years down the road. And he said, no, you're going to be in HR. So I started, 20 plus years ago as an HR coordinator. And then now, moved on to my last role in the Gulf region was at a VP level in a large corporate. So I knew, I didn't know at the time what he saw in me, but he saw something in me and pushed me to HR, and I'm ever so grateful for that. Well, since my corporate career, I have moved to Canada from Dubai, and after having global exposure in HR. In Canada, I'm not employed with anyone. I'm employed by myself. I run Humanacity, if you can see up there. We offer diversity, equity, and inclusion, audit and assessment, talent acquisition, HR strategy, and coaching and training. Those are some of our offerings here. Been in Canada only for about, I would say 2.5 years, and it's a journey, but it is a very pleasant journey. So I'm happy to have all of you as part of my journey as well. So that's in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. Again, from both of you, and I think in our own life as well, whenever we started our careers, success depends on many factors as we progress in our careers. I think one of the factor is somebody spotting your talent and actually holding your hand and guiding you. So that first mentor at your workplace most of the time is really, really important. Now, jumping on to our today's session, I think mentoring would come as part of, what do we do with our teams, and how do we keep them motivated? How do we help them keep working with us? Literally, this is the strategy that we really need to focus at as employers. And as HR professionals, people like you play a major role in helping these organizations achieve that objective, finding the best talent and then retaining that best talent with the organizations. whatever we saw during COVID, post-COVID, I think the remnants of post-COVID is still with us. Still, we have remote come hybrid, hybrid come remote work environment. People don't like to go back to their offices. There are certain challenges that people face during that time. I think they've kind of acclimatized with those challenges, and they really want to continue saving their travel time. And I think organizations also kind of understood that if they could save money on operational cost of having bigger offices, there's nothing wrong with it, particularly on the technology side. So a lot of things have changed or evolved in the past 3 years in the HR industry. My first question to you, Sam, because you recently came back from the Gulf, and of course you're setting up your own business here. What are some of the key things that you have observed in your journey? Changes that are happening in that part of the world and changes are happening in the Canadian perspective. And how do you, is it relatable or is it just two distinct things?
Good question. Yeah, I've been in the Canadian market now for about 2.5 years. Some similarities, depends which industry you speak with. And some very distinct approaches to specifically on the topic of talent development. I think most of the Canadian businesses are have adapted to the hybrid or remote working model, whereas where I came from, which is Dubai, people are 100% back in the workplace, and very limited remote or hybrid model is so it really is very distinct in certain aspects. But when it comes to talent development, I think that approach has considerably changed in regardless of which region you are in, regardless of which industry you're in. I think when you look at talent development, in any organization, you have multi-generational workforce, really looking at how are we going to, train individuals differently from Gen X to millennials to Gen Z, or even sometimes boomers. Really adapting to the new changing world of technology, and how adaptable are they in terms of learning on technology. Looking at what are the new world skills. I think certain parts of the world are very advanced in terms of upskilling and reskilling. That happens quite constantly, and there are certain industries going through the same. So if you're in technology industry, it's a constant, very, very fast-paced reskilling and upskilling mechanism, whereas when you're in, let's say, manufacturing industry, it's somewhat different. So it really depends on the industry, really depends on the workforce they have, in different parts of the world. So these are some of the key things I've observed. And I think looking at the two aspects, some organizations are very, I feel, somewhat slow to get on the bandwagon of doing very customized training and learning for their individuals, very individualized micro learning that's becoming very prevalent now. So I think there's a lot of catching up to do with a lot of new people coming in with new mindsets, new ways of learning, a lot of young talent as well. I think learning, ways of learning and training and developing people will have to definitely be changed.
Right. So I'm just trying to engage with some people who are watching us on LinkedIn Live as well. So your voice is going far.
Oh,
There are people who are listening to you even from India. So far means quite far. So whatever we are sharing here is learning for many people. So Brenda, Sam picked up on something very interesting, which is the generational aspect of an organization. So you have very young people coming in the organization, and then you have people like at my age coming in the organization or working in the organization for quite a long time. From a very Canadian perspective, what I see is that a lot of people are actually retiring. People at the senior age are retiring very quickly. So there's a gap being created in the job market, and the supply side is still pretty weak, as we see. And that's predominantly with the concept of you don't have Canadian experience, when you come in and join in, regardless of, even if you have experience like Shahzad with, zillions of years of experience in marketing and Hassan and all these people. Now, from very Canadian perspective, if you could share with us, what is the ground reality of the job market, and what are some of the things I think people like us should be doing as HR professionals, as coaches, in helping these people who are coming with like massive experience in education from many other countries to basically convince employers or hiring managers that they can deliver. I mean, I just want to put it very simply. They can deliver, because at the end of the day, organizations need productivity. Brenda.
Well, you know what? I think there's a challenge on both sides, right? Definitely there's a gap. Employers are finding it harder to fill positions. And it's not because there are no people there. There are people there. I believe that there's a lot of talent there, but it just has to it has to merge, and when I say that, what I mean is that there are people who you have to bridge the gap between employer wants and needs and what the employee wants and needs. It's like a match. And I find that there is a gap. And when I say Canadian experience, what I would really reclassify it as being adaptable. It's so employees on one hand need to understand what do they need to do to convince the employer that they can bridge that gap of Canadian experience. And I feel what it is, it's how can they, what is the right word that I'm trying to find, is that it's a culture gap. It's like the employer wants to know that this employee can step into the organization and can go right from the get. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of an adjustment, right? A week, 2 weeks, but they want to know that they can go. And I say this because I have an example. Like I was recruiting a person for a particular position in purchasing, and the person had worked in the Gulf, in Dubai, and his clients were North America, Europe. So when he came into my organization, he was brand new, had never worked in Canada, had no Canadian experience. And I was kind of coaching him, right? And I told him, well, you don't have Canadian experience, but you have global experience. You have dealt with North Americans, the USA. So when it's really presentation. So when he came to the interview, he had perfect English. He had the knowledge base, but it's hard to convince the employer that, I can fit into your organization. So I'm going to keep that Canadian experience synonymous with how can I fit into the culture of your organization. And he wowed them. And believe it or not, his first job in Canada, he got in at 60K, no Canadian experience, and all because he was able to bridge that gap. So there is a gap in right now where employers are trying to find employees who will be able to fit into an organization. That's what I believe is the work that the employees need to do. People who are coming into Canada, people who are looking for a job, how can I fit into an organization? How can I do more research to find out what is the culture of that organization? What are they looking for? What are the skill set? And then I try and work on my presentation skills. It's not the knowledge. I believe that people have the knowledge to fit in. They can do the job, but it's the presentation that's very, very important.
No, you're absolutely right. And I would actually add a little bit fuel to the fire here. by saying that a lot of us who come here, and this is purely psychological, by the way, they are all pretty well accomplished back home. Coming in the express entry, you are already highly qualified, and you have done wonders in your previous careers. But when you land in Canada, you're jobless. That joblessness is the real psychological impact that you have, and then it's expensive to live. So you have to. So it's like going into a business, and you don't start making money right away, right? It takes you a lot of efforts and a lot of. I would say it's a roller coaster ride for most of the businesses. I experienced it since I started my own business. So be prepared for that roller coaster ride, and try to adjust to the local environment is perhaps an interesting way to start looking at the job market from a different perspective. So thank you very much for that deep insight, Brenda. Another question I have is about this again: remote, hybrid, remote, whatever. Now, employers are still kind of pretty much interested in bringing people more onto the work, like 2-3 days at least. Workers are not interested, and that's an issue. Like and what has happened during COVID? A lot of people left their expensive places in downtown Toronto, and they moved out of either towards far east or far west or whatever, wherever they could find a cheaper accommodation, and start working remotely. Now, commuting from that location back to downtown Toronto or such a head office location is challenging. Technology companies are still coping up with that because a lot of their work can be done remotely, and they kind of very quickly acclimatize themselves to that environment. There are certain jobs that cannot be done remotely. Now, what do you suggest employers? How do they work around this issue? Because they want at least 2 to 3 days staff coming back onto their seats and working together. The team factor. COVID actually reduced the human interaction, physical human interaction, which actually is causing severe issues with young families. I know people who have kids, they face some massive problems, kids going back to school too. So how do you think they can have that balancing act, if I may put it this way, so that the teams are satisfied, or they're geared to come to work a couple of days, and it should become a mix of interesting hybrid model. So I don't know who would like to pick on this one first, but it's a question.
I want to take this one because this is close to my heart,
Sure.
Sam. I hope you don't mind, but I've been thinking about this a great deal. So I feel like, to put the Cinderella analogy to this topic is that before COVID, remote work was like the stepchild. It was always there, but it was there in a very limited way, But during COVID, I think we saw that it worked. It actually works. Everybody was working remotely. Some positions maybe not as effectively, but it worked. So I feel like now after COVID, I understand that employers want employees to come back, but I think there's going to be some reckoning on both sides, because there are some positions that you absolutely need to be in the office, and there are some positions that you can work remotely. So I think there's going to be a give and take from both sides. Like, employers have to understand that certain positions may be remote, and employees have to understand that certain positions you'll have to come into work, or part of the week. So I think there's going to be a lot of reckoning from both sides, employers and employees. And there's also going to be a different way of engaging employees and training employees, because if somebody's going to be doing remote work, there's a different level of training involved, a different level of supervision. Same with employees, same with employees. Employees have to learn different levels of technology to make that adjustment. So there's going to be a day of reckoning, but I can see both sides having to give a little.
Yes. So yeah, absolutely. It can, of course, it's so there has to be some interesting offers or opportunities for them, for the staff, and the staff has to, of course, accept that it's no longer COVID, so they have to behave differently. Sam, would you like to add something to it with your experience too?
Yeah, I think, if we are to stick to the talent development component, regardless of, I think, in-person talent, people in the office, hybrid, remote work model, there are ways in which we can still tailor talent development strategies to fit the workforce. I think with the development of technology, advancement of technology, you can have a team that's based outside of Canada, to a team that's based remotely in their homes in Canada, to a workplace team, by really accommodating, technologies that are available through immersive learning, for instance. So a lot of progressive organizations are doing exactly that, utilizing technology to train and develop employees regardless of where they're based. So if you have a really strong development strategy that can spread across regardless of where the employees are based, you can still have that engagement, that cohesive learning deployed within the workplace. But then again, workplaces have to have the resources, the technology, the tools available to do that. I think that's how you bridge that gap of, or you're based in the office, I'm based at home, I'm based in another part of the world. If you're doing the same job, if you are working for the same organizations, your training and development has to spread across. And I think only technology can do that, right? Through these new world ways of doing it. So I think that's my 2 cents in terms of, how do you engage employees equally in one organization, regardless of where they're based. You're on mute, Hamad.
Yeah. So no, that's really interesting, because what I have seen in the past is that people wait for that sweet moment when they are invited for a conference or at a conference. Now we all are sitting at different locations and we are talking to each other, and some of our like participants on LinkedIn Live are participating from different parts of the world. So taking that advantage of this simple technology can actually do wonders, and has been doing wonders for those organizations that are implementing it strategically. A lot of investment. Some people think, at least a smaller organization, that it actually is very expensive to do it. It is not. It is, it is cheaper than losing a talent and then looking for another talent and bringing the talent and training it. It is cheaper than that. That's where SOS Talent Management comes in as well, and train not only the employees to be part of an organization in a more productive manner, but also train organizations to be more, if I may use the word, more friendlier towards employees, with no offense, of course, more acceptable to the fact that there are different needs, people are behaving differently, and they need to really adapt to that change, and use e-learning, use Zoom, use Google Meets, whatever, and continuously keep helping their teams learn. And even pre-COVID, organizations that were imparting more training programs or giving employees an opportunity to learn more actually retained their staff for a longer period of time, because there is certain level of satisfaction when people are more skilled, more trained, more aware of what they are doing, or what their true potential is. So this is really, really good. Is it happening in Canada, by the way, Brenda?
What's that?
So
Sorry.
immersive learning and helping organizations providing opportunities to their staff, their teams to learn online and continue
Yes.
their growth.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've seen that a lot of companies have their own learning portals where they encourage employees to do online learning. And then there are other avenues like LinkedIn offers so much learning online, and they encourage you. I know one of the companies, my husband's company that he works for, they bought their own LinkedIn learning portal where he has access to hundreds, if not thousands of programs. And they've got all of them a subscription. It's some subscription-based learning. So employees at every company that I work for, big companies, they always have a online learning portal for access to it. So definitely that's being emphasized.
Superb. Now, yeah. Want to say
Sorry,
something?
if I can just add something there, just from a talent development perspective, advice to organizations is really these portals, some can be very expensive, but some really aren't. And other than LinkedIn, there are quite a number of online learning portals like Udemy, Coursera, edX, that you can actually utilize in terms of your talent development strategy. So it doesn't really have to be one, but a combination of those. And I think in order to retain the talent, again, regardless of where they're based, very specific training that are relatable to the current environment, the organization, the job that they're doing, what are the future skills that they require, I think is also important to look at, rather than just doing training for the sake of training or providing training because it's a tick box exercise for organizations. I think more and more organizations are moving towards very customized training that are job specific, related to the job. How can this person hone in on the skills that they already have, but upskilling on the skills that are required to do the job better, faster, and more effectively. I think those are things, again, organizations should be really mindful of when they provide a training strategy or a talent development program for their employees.
No, awesome. This is, and it's really, really important because if we don't train our staff, our team, workforce, and expect them to, deliver more effectively, then probably it may happen, but it may not happen that, with that pace. Now, AI is happening quite quickly in the HR space. We used to hear things about ATS resume, and people are scared of ATS and all that. But things have moved ahead. There's much more AI involved in the HR process. And there was this, somebody told me, one of my tech friends, that Google, what Google did, Google HR process is all AI enabled. So there is very little human interaction into it. So AI decides what needs to be done, where we are looking for people, how do we hire people. AI does everything. So one day AI decided that, okay, we do not need these 150 people, because that division is not making money and we need to reduce staff there. AI decided which staff has to go. Next morning, those 150 people came in, they couldn't get in because the key didn't work. And maybe if there's a human interaction, it could have been a different decision. Okay, let's reduce it. Let's be very careful. Let's give it another try or something like that. I'm not sure. I have not seen it myself, AI being integrated into HR. But if you have, please share with us what is happening in that space, some knowledge that you have or your experience in AI in HR. Sam, if you want to crack on that one first.
Sure. from the experience I've had in different parts of the world, I'm yet to come across a company in Canada that has utilized AI in all of their HR activities, but I've come across organizations where AI is used for the onboarding process. Definitely from a recruitment processes, AI has been in use for a while in different parts of the world, quite extensively. But the onboarding process is something that I've come across recently, other than training and development. So AI has been used extensively in training and development. So again, I spoke about immersive training, utilizing AI tools to do micro-learning, for instance. All of that is happening in different parts of the world. But the latest one that I've come across is the onboarding process done by AI, which is fantastic because it really does eliminate a lot of the heartache for the onboarding person, as well as the new joiner to go through. But if AI can eliminate most of those and make it a lot more pleasant and easier, I think that's a very good approach for someone joining a new organization. It's in trial phase, but I think they highlighted 50 new joiners are going through the AI process to get feedback. So I think any organization doing this, to do a sample test on a group of people and getting feedback as to, how was the interaction in place of a human, you're dealing with a machine, but someone's still talking to you or making things easier. I think getting that information is important before you roll out in a large scale, right? I think that's important. Other than that, from an HR perspective, I really have not seen anything other than onboarding and training AI being used. But my advice to the audience is don't be afraid of it. I think the world that we're living in, the world that we're going towards, is embrace it and don't hesitate to know and learn how to use, what is AI? How can that actually impact my job in a positive or negative way? How can I stay above the machine in order to learn a little bit better? How can I leverage those tools? So, there are courses on many open platforms, how to learn, ChatGPT or other AI platforms like Midjourney, for instance. So really taking a different approach to learning by utilizing these tools, I think is the way forward. We can't run away from them. They're not going anywhere. So I think embracing it is my advice to everybody, organizations as well as individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going anywhere. It's only be more intense as we go along. Brenda, any experience from your side?
I just want to add something to that, is that I always feel that HR in Canada is always behind on embracing new things. They're not very current. Like, I find there's a huge range. Like, you have really huge companies who will embrace all the new technology right away, or, get on the bandwagon. And yet you have the smaller companies, and they may be because of lack of resources. And they are way behind, sometimes even on things that should be absolutely obvious in terms of employment standards and stuff like that. So, but I think on the whole, AI will probably be used extensively more by HR professionals, because now, you can just call up ChatGPT and get policies and processes and workflows and stuff like that. So I see a lot of stuff in that area, more so in the short term than the long term. But definitely it is huge and lots of scope to improve HR. But I think it's going to be slow going.
Yeah,
Not going to be that fast.
that is correct. And ChatGPT is just one little example of what AI can do. But of course, technology companies will implement it. Cisco is training their whole team of, I think they have full-time staff across the globe, about 84,000 staff, and they're training everyone on LinkedIn, how they should use LinkedIn. So that's like, Cisco, why do they need to do that? And this is like a little thing, it's just little thing, technology is much, much vaster and has got much bigger scope. So last question, and then we'll take questions from the audience. Those who are watching us on LinkedIn, they can also ask us questions. We have got someone joining in from Nigeria. We've got people joining from India, and the people joining in from Canada as well. I'm looking at my cell phone at this point in time. So those who are who have joined us on LinkedIn, please, if you have any question, you can share that question in the comment, and we will pick it up. And with John, I'm grateful to you, John, for monitoring it. John is monitoring the chat. So if there's a question, we will definitely respond to this question. My last question is fast-paced environment. There's a lot of job environment within Canada, which is quite fast-paced. Some larger organizations, if you look at Amazon, for instance, supply chain and warehousing, very fast-paced. Airline business, very fast-paced. Restaurant business, fast-paced. So how do you, and the turnover also is very high, because people get burned out and they don't want to leave. They can't work 12 hours every day for 4 days and then take 2 days off and stuff like that. What do you suggest to these companies? Because the turnover is expensive. People leave and then you have to hire new people. Is this a McDonald's model when they take in these young people and they keep training? There is a bigger pipeline. And my younger daughter works at McDonald's, and she doesn't want to leave because she loves French fries, basically. So and she studies at the University of Toronto. I said, now you should leave McDonald's and do something else. And just the love for French fries is keeping her at McDonald's. But what she told me is that every week they have 5 to 10 new people being trained, and not many stay for more than 2 months. So there is a huge. But they have built that pipeline. But they're spending a lot of energy and resources, I would put it this way, in keep training these people. Now, some organizations that have got more sensitive level of work cannot afford this quick turnaround. What do you suggest? Maybe 1 or 2 suggestions for those organizations to kind of help them understand how they can retain the staff for a longer period of time. You cannot retain people forever, but for a longer period of time. So they build somehow that pipeline of resources to replace those staff whenever there's a need. Brenda, if you share something on first, then we will send.
Sure. So I feel companies need to do a needs analysis. They have to build a profile on who their talent is, what type of person fills the need for that particular position. And then you have to go and look at the generational characteristics of the workforce, like the boomers, different characteristic, the Gen Y, the Generation X, the Generation Z. So when you find, you do the profiles for each generations, and you see like the boomers are very stable. The millennials, they've given rise to the gig economy, right? Where everything is projects, where everything is contracts. They have different needs. So when you identify the needs of your talent, you want this, and then you look at the different generations and what their needs are, what their requirements are. You've got to match them. And that's what I would suggest to organizations. You've got to put in the work. You've got to do your needs analysis properly. See who fits into that need, and that's who you have to target.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually triggers more questions, but in the interest of time, I would first go to Sam, and then I'll share what I have in mind. Sam, what is your opinion on that?
I think purely from a retention perspective, I think it is really important organizations look at employee needs as well as their organizational needs, right? Hybrid, remote, in-person, mental well-being, occupational well-being is becoming a big topic as well. How can we cater to the well-being of the employee? Because retention is not just one thing. Retention is a combination of things organizations have to do in order to retain that employee. So it comes everything from is the employee feel a sense of belonging in the organization, included in decision making, included in the order, does the employee feel inclusivity in the organization? Are they trained and developed? Can they see a career trajectory in the organization? Career pathing, individualized career pathing and learning pathing is very critical for employees, people to see this is the organization I want to build my career. They have a career trajectory for me. This is my learning and development to get there. I think most organizations fail to do that because of perhaps the high turnover. They just want it done, but they don't look at the long-term impact of how can we have great talent and that has the right skills. We want to retain these skills 5 years down the road, but how to do that? So there are many steps to do it. Succession planning is very important in organizations. I think in Canada, it doesn't happen quite constructively. It needs to be intentional. It needs to be constructive in the way you do that. Because if you have that clear direction for employees with career planning, succession planning and learning pathing and development paths given to them, I think employees will feel a sense of belonging in the organization really investing time, effort, and money, and then be more engaged to do that. So I think there are a lot of missing parts in between that organizations can do that may not cost them a lot of money, right? It's just having the plan and the process in place and really injecting time and effort to do that. So I think from my perspective, that would be a really one way of looking at retention, rather than saying there's no talent, there's no people, they're not staying. Look at what is lacking in an organization in order to retain your talent. So that would be my approach.
So I have just one word, with a set of, so it's 2 words actually, mind-blowing. You know what? I also worked internationally and I worked with the US organizations, I worked with the British government. In most of the countries, these multinationals even have a talent pool and they have succession planning in place in most of the countries. I don't see it in Canada. Somehow what I feel, and I may be totally wrong, but those who are here in Canada for long and have been working here, the word succession planning doesn't exist. Which is an integral part of corporate governance. As a certified corporate governance director, I know for board of directors, succession planning is the key. For C-suite professionals, that's one of the biggest responsibilities of C-suite, to keep that momentum going, keep building that pipeline of talent. The other missing part that I feel in the Canadian job market is the harnessing part. So in internationally, a lot of organizations take talent, train them, and offer them job opportunities. And that's how they're growing. Like, Gary Vee, it's funny guy. So Gary Vee said, successful organizations hire fast, promote fast, and fire fast, which means that you hire quickly. The process has to be very swift, quick, and then you promote people. Literally, he said, if you promote someone within first 10 days of his or her job, if that person is performing, you will see that person doubling the productivity. And if you don't like him, fire him. You have a pipeline available. So again, maybe a conservative approach, and that could be one of the reasons of our industry not growing at the pace it should grow. So thank you very much for your amazing inputs, and I think that's where the word I use, the word mind blowing, is because that's exactly what SOS Talent is trying to do. We are trying to help not only the employees but also the employers to become more adaptable to these changes and be able to retain talent for a longer period of time, so that they save their resources and be more productive. Superb. So we have a question. We have two questions. One is a naughty one, which you have already responded from Shehzad. There's another question from Shehzad, which came a little earlier. What is your view on one-way video interviewing? Is it a human looking at them or just AI? Who wants to go for that?
To be honest, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Brenda, please.
Go ahead. It's okay.
I don't believe in one-way interviews at all. Never was a pioneer or I supported it. I think you can use AI tools. I think for an interview process, I think initial screening is a different component, but one-way video interview is never my preferred method. I think a constructive interview has to be probed, and I think AI has to be extremely intelligent in order to probe on a very constructive behavioral based interview structure. So I'm not a great fan of one-way video AI driven interviews.
Yeah. So Dineshji, you raise your hand, and anyone who wants to contribute or ask questions, we have about 5-6 minutes in the process. You can raise your hand and share your thoughts. Yes, Dineshji.
So first of all, I want to say thank you to both Brenda and Sam for such an insightful sessions. What you've shared in the last 50 minutes, I think it's a full day conference. What you've shared, the information in the last 50 minutes. You've touched on each and every topic of talent management, both from an organization perspective, as well as from an individual perspective also. I'm a storyteller, everybody knows this, and I like sharing stories, and I like sharing my personal stories all the time. And one thing that I will share this with, whether anybody's listening on a live video, LinkedIn video, or here, the reason I am who I am today is because of the two things. One, I always got good hiring managers, those who invested in me to take me to the next level. I started my first job at the age of 18-year-old, just passed out from the college, and my first boss, he mentored me like a child. I came to Canada, and like Hamad said, when newcomers come to Canada, they are nervous, they make all those mistakes. What Brenda said, we should be presenting it well. The kind of mistakes that I made it in the beginning of the life, in Canadian life, no company would have hired me. I can tell this today, point blank, no company. But I got a good mentor who said to me, I see something in you, you're different. He invested in me, he used to spend time with me, and then that's where he made me the HR manager. From hiring me as an HR intern, in 2 years, he made me the HR manager. So from an organizational perspective point of view, you have to invest in the people once you identify the talent. And there are other instances that I can say. So where I'm heading with all that stuff too, yes, it's an organizational responsibility, because hiring a talent, fresh talent, costs a lot of money. But on the other hand, to what Brenda said, and I think Sam, you also said this too, it's the onus on the candidates or the employees also. where I'm heading with all that stuff to is even when I came to Canada and I was making some mistakes, full transparency, okay, one day I made a biggest blunder that any employee could have made. Biggest blunder, okay? And I told my manager, sorry, I know I made it, I made that blunder. Have faith on me that tomorrow morning, when you come to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, this problem would be fixed. I went next day morning at 5 o'clock to the work. From 5 to 9, I worked on fixing that blunder that I had done. So when 9 o'clock he came in, he saw the problem was fixed. So the onus is on both the sides. If you commit something, take ownership, take responsibility. Only then the organizations will look into you, will invest in you. I can talk more, but thank you, Sam. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing all these information. Okay, over to you,
Thank you.
Hamad.
Thank you,
I
Dinesh.
just want to add one thing. Hamad, if I may, is that I
Sure.
feel that our work environment is changing. You know, it's changing very rapidly with the addition of AI and with the addition of this remote and hybrid and a technology thrown into the mix, and the fact that getting talent is so challenging. I feel the key word here to take away is adaptability. That employees have to be adaptable to change, and employers too. Both of them. It's very, very important in today's world to be adaptable.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Essence of.
And technology was always there. If you see, it's just that we've now started seeing, hey, technology, AI. But I was listening to somebody the other day, and the technology was always there.
And
Okay?
it was
It's just that
evolving as well. It was evolving. I remember, so Essence, I will take you. I remember years ago when we used to have telex machines,
Yeah.
machines. From telex, when we converted to fax and emails, a lot of people got so scared. So this is normal. Essence of.
Yeah, thank you, Hamad Saab. First of all, thank you. I mean, it's amazing discussion. I think most of the points you've already covered. I think if I could just add one or two quick things is the way HR practices are being challenged. It's a huge disruption that is taking place within HR market. It becomes even more tense and specifically challenging for newcomers, people who are newly coming into the organization, or coming from overseas, like international students or immigrants, or people moving within the organization. And I totally agree. Canadian firms are way behind in terms of succession planning and overall maturity level of human capital or HR practices. One of the trends that I was observing, and I heard John Brinson a couple of months back, and there was a trend report that was published by Gartner. They talked about company loyalty. The new generation or the newcomers are now, or not newcomers, like the younger generation, they are not in a bad sense, but they don't want to stay in an organization for more than 2-3 years. In our days, minimum 5 years or 8 years or 10 years, that used to be the benchmark, of your loyalty and commitment. But with the technological advancement and AI coming in, we will even see more and more disruption on employee engagement and big impact on automation. It coming into 23 is almost over now, so 2024 and 25, we will see way more AI into succession planning, automation, payroll, web portals, and all that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any more questions to you, Asim? I can see you here if you want to contribute anything.
No, I'm new to the Canada. So I was working with Capgemini in India as a consultant. I worked there for 10 years. I work with diverse clients and work with multi cross-functional teams. And I would say, though my experience is primarily cultivated in in India, but the transferable skills we really have, like problem solving, business analysis, that can be easily be utilized here. So though you are all people are HR, I would really like to say, I did one of the project with consumer electronic products. This was like my client was a $1 billion firm, so it's in the electronics industry. So the project was they were facing inefficiencies in onboarding and offboarding processes in the COVID times. So when this user got onboarded and the system needs to be was set up by the field services team and has to ship to the system, there was a password or like something discrepancy was there. So we utilize Workday Active Azure Directory, and with the HR team we set up one system and we streamlined all the processes, and that actually reduced the administrative task of HR by 30 to 40%. So that was the project which I really did. So you all people like all are HR, so I just wanted to say like I have an experience to work with cross-functional teams and like to implement this project as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We are already 4 minutes ahead, 4 minutes over our committed time. I know Liliana has to go, but if we don't hear from Liliana on this topic, we are going to miss out on an opportunity to get something in addition to what we have already got. So Liliana, your parting thoughts, and then we'll close the session.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Hamad. Yeah, it was super interesting, super insightful. So thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I think, all the points that Brenda and Sam have covered were really on point. I mean, I don't have a lot to add. I work in human resources and specifically in talent management, and there's lots of work. Some organizations have a lot of groundwork, like basic things that are not in place, especially in terms of onboarding and succession planning, like even having a good set of competencies, right, to really make sure that they're hiring the right talent, and also developing and promoting the right people. That kind of work is still lacking. There's a lot of and it was mentioned before, the short-term thinking and looking only at the numbers of the operational results. I see that more here in North America compared to Asian countries. For example, I have experience working in Japan, and I work with other global companies, and what the global companies in Canada do is a little bit behind. So there's there's a lot of opportunity as well. So really, you have to make sure, if you're on the job seeker side, you have to make sure to find a kind of niche and try to see if your level of expertise is something that the organizations are looking for, and there's lots of problems to be solved. So it's there's a lot of opportunities. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity as well.
Thank you very much. Just to conclude today's session, thank you, Brenda and Sam, for amazing contribution. What SOS Talent Management is doing exactly what Asan Saab has said. We are disrupting the HR industry. We're disrupting it by telling HR people that you need to do all this thing, employers, and we're also helping employees to become more effective when they go for their interviews. A lot to be done. As Lina also said, she was very humble in saying we are a little bit behind. I think we are far behind many other international standards, as we may call it, for hiring, firing, and everything in between, by the way. So with that, thank you very much for joining in. Next session is going to be exactly after 1 month. We will have some more interesting discussions around HR practices and what needs to be done to help companies do better if they have better HR practices. Thank you very much for joining in today, and see you next month. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Matt, and everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.